All right, y'all, here with another kingdom building conversation in the virtual building. I got one of the brothers who I would consider a legendary producer and artist. If you don't know now, you know. K-Drama's in the building. What's up, brother?
Hey, man, I'm honored by your words, truly.
No, man, it's good to see you, man. It's been a minute. I haven't seen you. I'm going back, man. I probably haven't seen you since like a Flavor Fest, man.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, it's been years, bro. And I'm glad to see you doing well. Glad to see you continuing to prosper, continue to produce, continue to make music. Every time I see a video from you, I'm like, yeah, brother, it's still holding on, still doing it. I remember the days walking to an event and seeing you come with your with like one of your suitcase carts with CDs, yep. You know what I mean, on your grind. But for those who don't know you, man, let me just give a proper introduction. You know what I mean? I don't like to take anyone for granted and assume everyone knows. Let me just let y'all know who K-Drama is. K-Drama is an accomplished rap artist and music producer from Cincinnati, Ohio, known for his creative prowess and humble heart. As a producer, he has composed a track for Lecrae on his Dove Award and Stellar Award-nominated album Rebel, and produced on the Grammy-nominated album Our World, Redeemed by Flame. In 2015, he was crowned the Rapzilla Beat Battle Champion, winning the 6th annual event. As a rap artist, K-Drama is a former Cross Movement Records recording artist. His last 2 albums placed on the Billboard charts in the gospel and heat seeker categories. He has made guest appearances on songs with Tedashii, Flame, and Sho Baraka. His most popular song, Air Jordan, became and still is the most remixed song in Christian hip hop history. Now, how many cats do you think, man, have not heard Air Jordan?
Man,
or CHH now, or listen to CHH now.
When I think they've never heard of me, they're like, nah, I know Air Jordan, and some of them know Kobe Bryant on them more than Air Jordan.
Ooh,
so
yeah,
that's kind of how that shakes. And then they figure out like, oh, like Sho Baraka was talking about you on the intro, and I'm like, yeah, you know.
That's right. I mean, look, I got the joint. Got the instrumental queued up, boy.
Right, you know, ready to go.
I got the instrumental queued up. I was ready. Like, you know what I mean? Had to, man.
Yes.
Had to, brother. So let me ask you, man, with all that you've been doing, man, first of all, let's just start out on the light foot.
Okay.
Let's do what I like to call the lightning round, man, just to let people get to know you personally a little bit. Don't overthink these questions.
Okay.
These are lighthearted. Let me hit you really quick. Let me hit you a few light ones so you don't think about them too much, just to get you in the flow of it. All right? All right, let's go. Favorite food?
Cheese. I like burgers.
Favorite vacation spot?
Myrtle Beach.
Favorite CHH artist?
Ooh, oh man, Cross Movement.
Favorite artist that you've produced for?
Lecrae.
Favorite artist that you wish you would have produced for to date?
Mary.
Favorite secular artist, and let me coin this: Big Daddy Kane or Rakim?
Rakim.
Favorite recording studio?
Oh, Cross Movement's old studio.
Come on, the Bird's Nest in Philly?
The one in Philly. When they had the building that they were renting.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. All right. Favorite production piece, like favorite boombox production piece, like out of the not in the box, out of the box, like not in the
And when you say boombox piece,
like MPC style, something like you know you hitting.
Definitely MPC 2000 XL.
Okay, all right. Favorite movie?
Enemy of the State.
Favorite board game?
Monopoly.
Favorite video game?
Street Fighter.
First car?
Hyundai Excel 91.
Favorite subject in high school?
Social studies.
Worst subject?
Math over time.
Favorite
math today,
math over time. He dragged it out. Math over time. Like, just in case my mom see this joint. Math over time. Over time. Favorite kung fu flick?
Enter the Dragon.
Wife's favorite vacation spot?
She probably would say Myrtle Beach also.
Myrtle Beach also. Okay. All right. Good deal. All right, cool. Let me ask you this, man. How'd you first get into music?
So my aunt bought me a keyboard way back. I was like 8 years old, and I would play like the little the preset songs on there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just play them, and I just thought they were so dope. And then just over time, my parents, my mom in particular, and then my aunts and uncles, they had a bunch of records. I mean, hundreds of records just chilling in the basement. And I actually used to take them and sell them. I used to go up to like a old record shop up the street, which is crazy. Because I would go to this record shop and I would like sell them for, pennies on a dollar.
Yeah.
And my aunt actually, she was like, you know what? I'm gonna pay you to stop selling these records. Of course they could have just whooped my butt or just told me not to do it.
Right.
But I think they like the hustle that I had, and they told me maybe you should listen to some of these records. Earth, Wind and Fire, Bootsy Collins, who of course is from Cincinnati, James Brown. I mean, Average White Band, all these different. It was just a plethora of records, and I just got lost in a lot of these records. And I would listen to them, and I didn't know how to explain it at the time, but I think I really appreciated the musicality that these records had, the instrumentation, and then just playing the record itself, it was dope. And then like I would listen, I started getting into the radio. I was into Michael Jackson. I did like Michael. Everybody liked Michael. I mean, who did like Michael?
Yeah.
My first hip hop record was actually Criss Cross. Because Criss Cross was popping. Like this is like 91, maybe 90. Totally crossed out. My mom bought it for me on tape.
Mm-hmm.
I just played that tape nonstop. And then like kids would be listening to music at school. They'd be like Bone Thugs and Harmony they from Ohio, which I didn't know, of course, at this time.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, they're from Cleveland.
Yeah, okay.
So a lot of people would be singing first of the month, and I'm like, I want to sing first of the month. Like I want to be, I don't want to be left out. And I think that's really what got me into music was like, I mean, I like listening to it, but I like playing video games more. But I think when all my peers were listening to music, that's what sucked me in because I wanted to be cool. And then I just went down like this road of like I went from Bone to No Limit was popping.
Mm-hmm.
Got into Pac a little bit before he died. And then like eventually I started getting into Christian hip hop. But like I was into hip hop heavy like 4th grade through 6th, 7th grade. Like that's when I was I was listening to everything, and a lot of that stuff influenced like how my music is produced today. Like a lot of that music was a lot of the music I produced was influenced by like 4th grade through 7th grade.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, you've done, almost like 10 albums for yourself, including plus a bunch of EPs and singles in between, bro. How many tracks do you think you've produced, if you had to guesstimate?
So it's funny, my son just asked me this question, my oldest son, because he's making beats now. And I was like, that's a project I'm about to work on. I'm gonna try to figure out how many songs have I like produced, like how many have I sold? Because I mean, that's got to be in the thousands. Like,
absolutely.
I've been doing it for almost 20 years. Like I sold my first beat. I was a junior in high school when I sold my first beat.
Right.
And so I've been making beats since 2002 for sale. Like,
right.
I started doing music in 99, like in high school. See, it's got to be probably 2,000 plus. So
yeah, easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you were back when like we used to have the floppy disks and machines.
Yeah, I still got them in the closet.
You got them in the closet, ADAT machines. I mean, all those progressions, bro, crazy.
Yeah. I've seen not all of them, but I mean, I've seen, like I got the floppy right here, like so. Yeah, it's just funny. Like I think about that stuff a lot, like all the transitions.
Yeah,
over the past like 20 years, like man, music has grown.
Right.
So much technology just in general.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, when you think about all those transitions, right? How do you think CHH's transition with the technology and whatnot? How do you, when you step back and zoom out, how do you think about it?
So I think technology was a big win for CHH. I feel like I've talked to people about this before. Like, not that I was the first person to put 808s in a beat. I'll never claim that title, but however, like, you listen to a lot of Christian hip hop, late 90s, early 2000s, people were using subs. They weren't using 808s. Like, they weren't using 808 kicks. They were using subs. And that's what really kind of got me in the door, because I had an MPC, or had access to one. I didn't own it. I mean, this is $2,000 machine. Like,
right. And
if you weren't doing, if you weren't doing worldly music, like, you might not have access.
Yeah.
Or like, if I had access because of my brother. My brother went to school, or we both did technically. But he was good friends with a guy who ended up starting this big 32 track studio. He had an MPC 2000. He had rolling keyboards. And I was able to get in. I mean, this studio was like $75 an hour, and I'm 14 years old. I'm like, I can't afford that. But he was like, which I'm glad I did. He still made me work for it, but I paid like $25 an hour. And what I would do is I would save my lunch money every week. And then my mom eventually figured out I wasn't eating lunch. And she like, yo, you gotta eat lunch. Like, you gotta eat, boy. And so she would give me, so much money a month to go to the studio. I mean, only have 2 hours.
Right.
And I crank out 5-6 beats, I'm trying to make what I can,
Yeah.
And so I think over time, like, when Fruity Loops started getting popular, and then eventually you had Reason and Logic and these different programs where you didn't have to have these $2,000-$3,000, you didn't have to have a keyboard, where you could just buy a VST with those same keyboard sounds, you could emulate it. And so I think that really helped CHH because we were able to compete as far as like sound wise with what they were doing on the radio. And so like it's I think it's dope. I think it can also, I think with anything, it brings out the best and it brings out the worst. Like, you hear some really awful music as a result of the playing field being leveled, but also you got guys like me who can really, who's still going to invest the money. It's just, I can get more bang for my buck now. I got the keyboards, but then I also got the VSTs, and I can got the computers, and so we can make music that has that same quality, and even like the mixing. Like, I feel like you listen to a Reach album. I mean, their albums are mixed so well.
True.
I'll be like, man, like, I don't know if it's Jacob, or I don't know if it's, who they got mixing these joints, but like, you could just tell, like, they're in their bag when it comes to mixing. Like, ain't nobody really touched them on that. And so it's cool, because even now, like, we may not, it's not the technology these days, it's just learning. It's learning the skill set.
Absolutely.
Going to school or going to YouTube University and really figuring it out, and praying that God will bless the little. So
yeah. It's so funny too, because you're right on the mixing piece. We hear a lot of things that come through, and you can tell sometimes the cat maybe didn't go work with a mixing engineer. And sometimes there's, we don't know, right? And so one of the things, I'm glad you said that, is understand that with the gift of the technology and all the things allow you to do, you still have to understand that people have expertise in those different things. It's the other artists watching this, particularly since you're on here, man, because you can share a lot of this with you. It's just like anything else, right? We can all grab a wrench, but that doesn't make us a plumber. We don't have the expertise to get up under there, right? We don't know how to work with the wrench. We don't know the other things that go along with it. So same thing with, you got Logic Pro, or you got Fruity Loops and all those different things. An engineer, man, understands how to, like, I had somebody told me when I was first becoming an engineer, is like, it is the equivalent of being a painter and painting on a canvas. Like you would never put the sky on the ground. You've got to have the dimensions of depth to make the tree look a certain way and the leaves on the tree look like they're moving with the wind. An engineer is going through all those different things and putting things in different places to give everything its own space. The piano panned a certain way, a certain depth and whatnot. And so as the artist, when you're trying to do all that yourself, you don't have the appreciation of that and the expertise. You could then do your song a disservice. You do what I'm saying? So the money investment on that expertise of a producer / engineer who knows how to do that can bring your thing to life in a different way.
Yeah, it really can. It's just crazy to think, we're in a position now where you don't have to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
I think for me, like what you just said reminded me of how, like, I have a choice. Like I started making beats because I didn't know any producers.
Right.
We had the internet popping. Like we had Black Planet. I mean, but
right.
we didn't even have MySpace yet.
Oh my gosh, yes, man.
Yeah. So
hip hop, right?
Yeah. I mean, we dealing with. I'm talking about. Of course, we both know we talk about dial up internet. We talk about
BBS.
Going to Walmart, getting the 40,000 hour, however many hours you get, AOL CD.
AOL joint, you know what I mean? Bulletin board system.
Yeah. It wasn't uploading multi-tracks to Dropbox. You weren't sending big files. So like when I first started, like the church I was going to, they let me borrow their keyboard, and I had a boom box, and I would just, it wasn't even like a line in. I would just press record on the boombox, and then it would just record what was in the air.
Right up in the air, yeah.
So the quality wasn't the greatest, but God still blessed it. And then eventually, like, I actually got good at making the beats. Like it wasn't at first. The beats were kind of like
respect.
I need something to rap over. Right. It's either that or a JT Money beat, which I did. I used to rap over Who Dat and a couple other beats, and I even looped one of a old Grape Tree album. I think it was True to Society. I looped their intro. I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't realize I was sampling.
Right.
I just kept looping it on the tape, like over and over and over until it was like 4 minutes long.
Right.
Of course, the loops weren't perfect. Like some of the loops were great, and then some were terrible. I'd be off beat, and but like eventually, like I got good at making the beats, and then it was just finding a studio to go to actually record. Because you watch movies, you watch like the Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5 movie, the Temptations and all these movies they used to do over like a 3-4 day period. And they would be in the studio, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's where I got to go. Like, I got to go to. It's not like we had consultants at the time that we had access to, and so like going to the studio, and then like the studio I went to, he wasn't a believer at the time, and so he was working with a lot of people who were kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Short, studio ended up getting robbed.
Oh man.
I go to another studio, which happened to be across the street of all places from the studio I first went to. That studio also got robbed. And then I ended up going to Theory Has It. First Lee Sun, but then after Lee Sun, I went to Theory Has It. That's where I really did a lot of my stuff. Gotcha. And then when Theory, he moved, because actually I booked Braille to do a show, and then Braille heard Theo, and then Theo ended up signing with Hip Hop Is Music at the time. He ended up moving to Portland. So I didn't have a studio to record at. So I ended up buying Lee Sun's equipment, but I was scared out of my mind because I'm like, I know it was a little long-winded, but like the whole point is like, I didn't want to be a jack of all trades. Like I knew my lane. I knew I rap and I can make beats. I was like, I could be like Timbaland, or I could be like Pharrell, or different, But even, when you look at those producers, you're like, all right, Timbaland is a producer. He can make songs. Obviously, he had hits, but I don't consider him. I'm not looking at him like, yo, he's one of my top 5 dead or alive MCs. Like,
right.
But that's kind of the example. That's the example we had. So I'm like, I know it can be done, but I didn't want to record my own stuff, mix my own stuff, master my own stuff. But because Theo left and I didn't have no studio to go to, I ended up, buying a Mac Mini with 2 gigs of RAM, and I'm trying to learn how to record and mic placement and
the whole thing,
compressor, the whole nine. And so, but I say all that to say, like, especially if there's artists watching, like, ultimately, like, do what God leads you to do. Like, God led me to buy this guy's equipment.
Amen.
And I went from that to now, like, I'm one of the go-to people for a lot of Christian artists to mix their projects. When I first bought this stuff, I was scared out of my mind. Like, I didn't record myself, nothing. So sometimes you do have to be a jack of all trades, but if you can delegate, because like we can't do it without a team. Like,
you hit the nail on the head. If you can delegate. But if you got to be a jack of all trades, also learn that piece of the trade. You know what I mean? Recognize that it's got some expertise with it for sure.
Yeah, amen. Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you, with producing thousands of tracks, and this is probably hard to answer, man. How would you describe the music you produce? Like if somebody, backed you to a corner and say, how would you describe the imprint of your production style? How would you describe it?
So it's funny. I think No Limit had a heavy influence. Like, I went back and listened to some old No Limit tracks. Now, Silk the Shocker, of course, offbeat as I don't know what. I'm like, a lot of the lyrics were just terrible. Like, even the recording, like the dubbing, like I would hear Master P. You can hear his dubs, like you can tell they're not live. He didn't sound like his engineer should have told him to re-record that, like for sure. His dubs he'd do 3 dubs, they all 3 be in 3 different spots.
Exactly, didn't care.
Just be crazy. But and this music a lot of the times wasn't even mixed well. Like you listen to it. But what was dope was the production. Like Beats by the Pound, they had a formula, like they had a sound. And when I go back and listen, especially to my drums, like, of course, there's a modern touch to what I do. Like, of course, when I first came up, I was doing what was being done at the time. And of course, as a producer that's always sharpening his craft, like to some degree, like you gotta balance being yourself versus what's going on in the culture. Which some people fare too far on the right, and then some people fare too far on the left. It's really hard to do, but it can be done. But like I listened to a lot of the drums that they would do, like snares and just the way the hi-hats would roll. And I'm like, man, like I do a lot of this stuff just by second nature, but I think it's because that imprint has touched what I do. And so I think for me, like what I try to do is bring because I like No Limit, like they were hard and they had a lot of chants and anthems, but I also like the softness of like a LL Cool J. Actually, my wife was working out to this workout video, and Around the Way Girl came on, and my head just instantly just bobbing, and I'm like, man, that I wonder what that sample is on the hook, and I'm just all these questions as a producer, but it's funny that I heard that because it's just a lot of his production, though he was a hard rapper, you got I'm Bad and you got all these other tracks, but then he had that soft side. And I think for me is I don't like necessarily like bubblegum music, but I like adding like a soft touch to like, it's like LL Cool J meets 3 6 Mafia almost. It's like I got the anthem, but if you understand music enough, like you realize that you could build chords. You could build chords around a lot of these one notes. Like you could play C Murder, like it's a hard song, but then if you added some piano, like you could probably soften it down a little bit just with the production you bring around it. So for me, like I like playing basic chords, like electric piano, organ, but then I need those synthesizers I need the synthesizers on top of that. Yeah. And I want something with some energy. So like I need like just some, for me, like whenever I produce, I need I need a riff, or I need like some kind of loop to where you can listen to this over and over again for 5 minutes straight. Like that's kind of my barometer for production. I'm like, I want it to be simple, but at the same time, if it's going to be repetitive, it has to be worth it to be repetitive. Like if this joint going to play the whole time,
right? I
want it to be like so addicting where like it's just something you sing to over and over. So like, that's how I approach it. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah,
right, like that. There it is.
Have you been watching some of the versus battles, the producer versus battles?
I really enjoyed the DMX and Snoop Dogg one. That was probably my favorite.
Gotcha. What about the producers though? Have you saw like Scotty Storch versus Manny Fresh or any of them?
So I missed that one. How was that one?
It was good, man. It was good. I mean, I didn't realize some of the tracks that Scotty Storch had done, or at least I forgot about them. Some of the ones he had done for like Eve and I was like, wow, I forgot about those, man. I mean, Storch's
discography is crazy deep.
Yes.
Thing like I'll hear a song and I wonder who did that beat. He did that, like that. Very versatile.
Yeah, he's versatile, man. So So now your latest project, Elegiac Sessions? Elegiac Sessions, man. I'm gonna have to edit this. Your latest project.
Keep that in there, bro.
Elegiac Sessions. 9th album, man. And one of the things I read, man, was elegay means a song or poem expressing sorrow or lamentations. I had never really understood that because I've listened to the project a couple times, right? I know some of the songs on and everything, but then as I was getting ready for this, I was looking up something that's what the root of that word means. So talk about that, man. Was that intentional in terms of the titling of it and going into it?
So I've been in podcast mode probably past 3 years. Like I just caught that podcast bug, like a lot of us have.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that my man from man, what's A Tribe Called Quest? The
not
producer, not
Tip.
Not Tip.
One who passed away?
No. The other one, why can't I think of his name?
Main beat maker.
Yeah, he made a lot of the beats. Of course, Tip did too, but like he was the DJ.
Yeah. I can't think of his name either.
But he had a podcast with a lady, and I forgot her because they kind of faded into oblivion. It was weird. Like they were interviewing a lot of current artists, but then they were interviewing a lot of artists from the 80s and 90s, and just really dope interviews, help you understand like what was going on, like when Nas was making Illmatic. Like they did a whole interview with Nas,
right?
Just crazy, like, oh man, that's just dope to know. I like behind the scenes stuff. And so she was interviewing the professor. And
Large Professor?
You said what?
Large Professor?
Yeah, Large Professor. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And edit that. So so she was interviewing Large Professor, and she one of them, I think either Large Professor said it or she said it. She was like it was her. She was like, that your songs are just, a lot of your songs are real elegiac. And I was like, and they were even like, elegiac, that's a dope word. Like, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Right.
And what's funny is just God just has a funny way of putting you in the right place at the right time. And for me, like I just went through some years. I went through some good years.
Yeah.
And then I went through some, I won't say they're not good years. They were just trying years. Just really hard. Like just stuff that I didn't think I'd be going through and I thought I'd be out of. But so I made several projects. I made the 8th, which was my 8th album. And the 8th was really, for me, it was really, I don't want to say dark, but for lack of a better term, dark. Like it was a darker album. Like I felt kind of betrayed in a lot of ways, not by CHH per se, but just people in CHH. And I just needed to get all of that out. Like I needed to write it on wax. You know, and I related it to David. And I was like, David was pretty transparent in a lot of the Psalms. And so I'm like, you know, I feel like God has allowed me to have that space to write these songs. And maybe there are other people who feel similarly in other ways. Like it may be a different feel, but same feeling. And so then I wrote Weatherman. Like Weatherman came out right after. And I think when I was making Weatherman, I was like kind of on the other side of the eighth, but still not out of my situation per se. But I think I had more of an understanding of the situation. Like, okay, like life is like has all these weather patterns. You know, and Cincinnati's real crazy. Like it could be 90 degrees one day and then it could snow the next day. Like you're just like, what is going on? And so and so like I made that album like, you know, no matter the weather, like God got you, like basically kind of deal.
Right.
LJ Sessions is it's like the trilogy. If it's a trilogy, like this is the final act of that trilogy. Like this is it. Like I was like, after this album, you about to get happy K drama. Like I'm about to be straight giddy, you know. Gotcha. But I felt like I still had some stuff like that. I feel like I have been praying that God would bring us through, which He has. Praise God, you know.
God, man.
A lot of that stuff is behind us. It was hard. And so a lot of the songs you hear, like I try to frame it because I always try to give hope at the end. Like I don't want to just leave it on a man, like I don't want you to have a problem without the solution. That's always been my thing for me. Like I've always believed like if you're not sick, you know, how do you know that God is a healer if you're never sick? Yeah. It's kind of not that I wish to be sick, but it's in those moments that you know, okay, God is a healer, or you know, if you need God how do you know that God is provider if you have everything? And so like I think LJ Sessions is like I know God's gonna bring me out. I don't know how He's gonna bring me out. But like I know that God is faithful, and even if I'm in this situation, like God's will be done. Like if I'm scorched by the fire, if I'm in this furnace and the fire takes me out, like may God be praised. Like that's where LJ Sessions isn't necessarily the darkest album, even though the title LJ, you know, is that definition. But I didn't want to shy away. Like I wanted to, like, not that I cannot write happy songs while being in a dark place, but a lot of times I write my best stuff when I'm writing from the heart. And so, and I started realizing when I dropped Gotta Do Better, like that song for me was the eye opener. Like I wrote that song, and a lot of people was like, whoa, like, what is this? Like your voice sounds different, your cadence. And I'm like, whoa, I've been improving. It's hard because CHH is in some ways no different than any other genre. Like it's who's hot at the time. It's, you know, if you're not in the limelight, you're nothing. Like it's almost, that's what I felt. Like that was the baseline for those 3 albums. Like just having that identity crisis, doing music since I was 14. I'm 35 now, and I think to some degrees, I probably had unhealthy relationships with music to where I cared more about the music than my relationship with God. But I always strive to put God first above the music. Right. But I think for me, like I heard, and I'll end it with this. Like you got Baker Mayfield, who was like this decorated quarterback in college. And then he comes to Ohio, of course. He comes to Cleveland, worst team in the league. And he like, whoa, I'm used to winning. Like, I'm not winning anymore.
Right.
Psyche. And for me, it was like, man, like I've been doing music since I was 14. Being 14 and doing music gives you an advantage because not old people, but elderly people, they like the fact that you are young and on fire for God.
Right.
So you get a plus for that. You get pluses for different things. And I think being in my 30s now, music is my full-time occupation, and it should be based on like just my skill set and what I earn from it. But when you're behind the 8 ball because of different situations, and it's like, man, I'm making good money,
right?
But I'm so deep in debt, like I need to make like in a substantial amount of money in order to climb out of this debt. Like I'm listening to Dave Ramsey. I'm trying to get influence. Like, how do I get out of this?
Right.
And so I think that's where those albums, that's where that, like, it was dealing with the conversations I had with my wife. Like, yo, you got to figure this out. Like, your kids are not 3, 5, and 7 anymore. Like, they're getting older. Like, your daughter going to be driving in a few years, and she might be going off to college in 5. Like, we can't be, you ain't in your 20s anymore. You ain't, so you go through that and you're like, all right, I know God is telling me one thing, but I'm looking at my reality, like, how I'm gonna get out of this. And so, like, one day I'm gonna write a book, man, because like just knowing how God brought us out of a lot of these situations, I'm glad we held on. Like, I'm glad, like, I didn't like you do have to be like, you got to be one with your spouse. At the same time, like, you have to be on your face, like, and you have to, like, you can't make hasty decisions, or else you're gonna end up in, whether that's in music, outside of music, whatever your career is, like, you could be in the right place and it may not look like you're in the right place. You might think the bus already came, but it hadn't came yet, and you just
right?
Play that waiting game. So
man, that's so good. I mean, so much in what you just said, bro. I mean, the one thing of your transparency, man. I'm not gonna try to say that title again, bro. Elegaic, is that right? Elegaic, yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head, man. Writing your truth into your songs, you know what I mean, as opposed to what you think people want to hear. And I think, to me, man, that's the epitome of artistry. You do what I'm saying? Writing your truth as opposed to what you think people want to hear. To me, when I think about those inflection points that have changed different narratives in music, or changed that, I mean, it was people's truth coming out, irrespective of what they thought people wanted to hear. It's like, I'm just gonna speak my truth.
Yeah.
Like, yo, like, I've been waiting to hear that. That resonates with me. You do what I'm saying?
It does.
And two, your point around the growing but also wanting to not just leave people with the problems, but the solutions. And then your last piece of the realness of it, man. That realness of feeling like, man, it's a different season. This season doesn't feel as good as that last season, man. And I think that's the realness that many of us have to grapple with. You know what I mean? Whether it's a day job or whatever the case may have been, we want to have God's continuous joy.
Be
committed, but there's always that chance where we're so into a thing, you get what I'm saying, that we are letting it compete with our joy for the Lord. You know what I mean? I know for me, it was my last gig, you know what I mean? And when I left it was like, was I really went to it that way? Wow, what a change. You know what I mean? Like, the first 6 months was like, yo, like, I'm so excited about this, but I kind of missed some of that. And what is it that I missed like that? You get what I'm saying? And so, I think that's so good, man. The honesty about those seasons. Let me ask you this: being such a veteran as you are, and I've had different people opine on this, but I would love it from a producer perspective, because I think you're the first I've asked this question. When you think about CHH, and we've all seen so many different things in this, man, in terms of what we would probably love to see for it in order for it to grow differently, from your perspective, what do you think are maybe, 2 or 3 of the things that are barriers? And if you were unconstrained and had the resources to do it, what would you do about those barriers?
So I think one of the things, I'm trying to say this in a way where it's not, I want to be as real as possible, but I want to be sensitive
Sure.
as well. So I think, because I've been on both sides of this, I think we deal with, I guess it's ageism. And it's rough, man, because you watch, like, I think as men, just men, we have a lot to wrestle with, a lot of us. I mean, we all do to different levels, but I think, like, if you grew up without a father in the home, I think that can really just sets a bad tone. And if no one puts you on game, like if you don't have a mentor or some sort of male influence in your life that helps you navigate through that, it can go two ways. Like for me, I always was timid.
Right.
I'm still kind of timid to this day. Like I've always been the shy kid, which some people wouldn't think I'm shy, but like I was real shy growing up. Like I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to speak out. I didn't want to be vulnerable because I didn't want to be rejected. That was my thing. Like I wanted to avoid rejection by all means necessary. Like not going to ask a girl out unless I knew they liked me. Like it was that kind of thing. But then you have the other side of it. You have the male who overcompensates for that insecurity. It's still insecurity, but they overcompensate with either toughness or just, if you have success, you don't got to really worry about it because people are telling you how they feel. Or you get the vibe like people want to be around you. And I think CHH deals with that as well. I don't think it's no exception. Because I have conversations with a lot of people. I've had the conversations where I was in the limelight, like I made Air Jordan. I'm signed with Cross Movement at a time where, you wanted to be with Reach or Cross Movement or Lamp Mode,
right.
Even though it was on the tail end, like it's still like I felt that gravitational pull. Like I felt that magnetic energy. Like, yo, this is dude. I'm trying to work with this guy. But then I've been on the flip side of that where, not because I don't really go after people. I know who I am in Christ. I know who I am in music. Like I know my successes, whether you acknowledge them or not. Like, but there are a lot of people who will look over me, because of, all right, he's had his moment. Like, and so I think I say all that to say I think we miss a lot of opportunities because we got this ESPN mentality like, oh, he 40, he old, he should retire. Like he ain't about to get another contract because like we treat rap, even though like Jay-Z is pushing 50, even though Nas is pushing 50.
Right.
You got artists like hip hop is grown. Like we shouldn't have did that back then, but I feel like a lot of hip hop is evolving because hip hop is young still compared to other genres.
Absolutely.
So, like you ain't gonna say Jay-Z's he's not relevant. You're not gonna say that. And people won't say that, but you can feel it. Like you can feel it. Okay. Feel it. And so like I think like there are a lot of artists who I would love to work with, who I feel like, they like I feel like a lot of people make good music these days. It's got a short shelf life. Like it's like McDonald's fries. Like they're good in the moment. Like, I love McDonald's fries straight from McDonald's. Like you got to get them joints fresh. And you got to eat them soon as you get them. Right. You can't reheat McDonald's fries. They're not good. You can even throw them in the air fryer. You can throw them in the oven. You can do whatever. They're probably not going to be good, once they lose its heat. And so I feel like a lot of music these days, not all of it. There's people are making some great music in these times, but it's funny. Like the way I listen to music now, and I don't think it's just because I'm getting older. I think I hear music and I'm like, that's cool. Like it sounds good. Like mixed well. It's the person's rapping good. It's a good song.
Right.
But for me, it just doesn't have that replay value. Like
Gotcha.
there are certain songs, like I remember hearing Bone and Biggie. I remember being in the car, Notorious Thugs came on, and I'm like, what is this? And I used to listen to the radio all day until they played that song so I could record it on my so I could play it over and over again. I don't hear songs like that now.
Gotcha.
And so I don't want to say like because there are lots of great producers and songwriters, but I feel like, man, for instance, I feel like I could work with certain artists and we can make like some bangers, like, because it's not just like, for me, it's not just, I don't just want to make them. It's just like when we talked about the production, like I don't just want to make a 3 6 Mafia banger. I want to add that LL Cool J touch to it.
Yep.
Because we're so male, like we're so hard. We want to decapitate each other and battle each other. Like a lot of times, you know, it's like, bro, like there are so many songs. Like we can make compositions. We can make. Like, I think about even the songs that I made with different artists. Like that's why I say Lecrae. Like favorite song I produce is Got Papers, because like and Got Paper dropped. It wasn't his biggest song off his album, but people love that song.
Yeah.
Like, that song. Yeah. When Tedashii and I made Make War, like that's still one of his biggest songs to this day. Like it's an anthem. Like it just has a certain something about it, and it's not just me. But I feel like I do have a good songwriting ear. Like I've done things in CHA, and I won't go too deep into it, but like there are things I've done that I'm like, I know such and such copied off of me, or I know such and such bit off me. And I'm just like, why, instead of biting off me, why don't you just bring me into the camp? And why don't you allow me to, I got billions of ideas and I can't make them all. Gotcha. But usually I have to produce these, like, I end up, and I don't want to sound bougie, but like I'm making beats for artists, and there are some great artists that I make beats for, but a lot of times, like, it's just a check. It's not something I would play like on my spare time. Like, but there are artists who are really dope that I'm like, man, if I had an opportunity to produce for that artist, like if that artist just like not because here's the thing, like, and sorry, I meant to say a couple points, but I feel like this is the one I really feel passionate about because I think about it and I'm like, you got artists, because I've been in this thing, man, for so long. Like I remember getting the emails where like the artist wants beats from me because I've made dope beats. They don't realize like I'm influenced by things, but I try not to copy off of what's going on. Like I try to have that relevancy, like you know, like I'm current, but I really try my best to not be to be a cookie cutter. Right. And like I've gotten emails from, I still have the email. I probably should delete them, but like I still have these where artists hit me up, popular artists you would know. And they're like, yo, K-Drama, you're dope. Like I need some beats. Yo, I need you to make me a beat like this artist and that artist and that artist. And it's like, man, why can't I make you what I think you would be dope on? Because at the end of the day, like they'll hear my beats and they'll be like, well, this don't sound like what's on the radio. And I'm trying to be ahead. Like I'm trying to make something new. I'm trying to make I'm trying to make the song that everybody else copies off of. But instead you want to copy off everybody else.
Right. And you want to set the trend.
It's frustrating. Yeah, it's so frustrating because it's like, man, people don't trust, like we're just beat makers. We're not producers. Like, but for me, like I get to produce my own music and I don't have a platform that's like, I have a platform that other artists would love to have, but I don't have a platform. Like I don't have the platform that other people have. And I'm not jealous of that. It's just, I say all that to say, like when I make a song, yes, I got fans who love my stuff. Like they'll hear like something I do, and they're like, "Yo, this is crazy." Like a lot of the feedback I get is like, "You're very underrated," and it's just the system we're in. Like, how do I break out of that within this system? I probably won't. Like, I'll probably have to go outside of CHH still and not compromise. And like, I'm not saying compromise or do worldly music, and certain worldly music is not bad, but like I would have to probably go outside of the system to be influential, so to say, like to have that success. But like, if another artist would allow me to make the same kind of music that I produce for myself and trust me, I feel like, man, those could be some songs that do have that replay value.
Gotcha.
So I feel like that's the one thing I would change, man. Like the politics of it. Like I feel like everything else is there. Like we have the foundation with social media, with I mean, you hear Reach record artists all the time on ESPN. Like Wande, she's super dope. Like she has a couple songs that play on Get Up and they play on during the NBA countdown. And I'm telling you, man, like we're there. We're right there, man. And I feel like certain artists, like, they got good songs, but I feel like they could be better if they weren't so focused on making, like, trying to be relevant. Instead, just, like you said, speak your truth, make what you think is dope, and watch it blow up.
Yeah. Wise words, man. Wise words, brother. And you know what you said too, the difference between beat making and producing, you know, the artist, that relationship, artists and producers, when they have real trust, like, and I've seen it happen really well, and the artist trusts that producer, and they come together on that creation and see it together, you know what I mean? It's so different than just when an artist sees a person as a beat maker. Those are two very different things.
Two totally different things. And one more thing I want to say, like, because you just reminded me, I think it was Craig Mack, with I think it was Flavor in Your Ear. I think when he first heard that beat, he thought that beat was terrible.
Really?
Yeah. And imagine if he didn't trust his producers, like that would have been a song like that. He probably wouldn't even end up being where he ended up. When I made the song "Chisel Me" on DJ Official's project with Jason Thizzle.
I didn't know you produced that one. Yeah,
I didn't produce it. But I wrote the hook. So and I'm sure the guys wouldn't mind me sharing this, but like early on, nobody liked the beat. Like, and I was the only one that was like, well, and part of me was like, yo, I need this opportunity probably more than some of y'all do. Like y'all kind of in the door with Lecrae, and now I'm still kind of on the fence. And so like I don't have the luxury of saying this beat whack, but for me, like I like the beat though. And and Alex Medina, he co-produced it. And so like I wrote the hook. And then everybody else was like, yo, this is dope. Like, I wrote my verse. They actually wanted me to write a longer verse. And I was like, nah, I like it where it's at. And Tadashi wasn't on the original song. Like, it was supposed to be the Midwest. That was supposed to be the Midwest banger. And then, but Tadashi heard it and liked it so much that he asked if he could throw a 16 on there. So, like, if I would have just went with everybody else and been like, yo, this beat whack, make something else, like, we might have never had Chisel Me. And not that Chisel Me was the biggest song, but like a lot of people really like Chisel Me. And people to this day are like, yo, that Chisel Me, man, that's so hard.
Yeah, on my shots right there.
Yeah,
yeah, brother.
Yeah, you gotta go with your heart.
For sure. Well, hey man, listen, it was good catching up with you, man, and getting some of your wisdom, bro. Any parting words of advice to the up and coming artists, man, that are kind of looking up and going, yo, to your point, man, you know, you've been on Cross Movement Records, independent, got your own label, been producing for a minute. I'm just trying to get up in here and elbow me a little space and do my thing. Any parting words of advice?
I think one thing I wish I would have told myself earlier that I constantly remind myself now of is you have people. Now, granted, this is assuming that your music is dope. Like that's gotta
be a given, right?
And even if your music is not like you might be the Licorice of CHH. That's okay. Like there are people who like Licorice. Like I don't, but obviously it's on the shelves for a reason. Like,
right.
you know, you might be the candy corn, but be that candy corn, like be hard. But like, I think, you know, if you do music for a hobby, like that's totally fine. Like some people, I hear artists who it wouldn't even be worth it to give them advice because I'm just like, I don't think you'll ever be like that good if I'm to be frank. Like, but that doesn't mean you can't do music. Like you could sing, it could bring joy. It maybe you enjoy it and it just brings joy to your heart to write. Like, I think that's totally fine. And and not everybody likes my music. So like I come at it with both perspectives. But like I think for me, like I didn't appreciate those who I already had enjoying my music. Because of course, a lot of us, we're trying to expand our platforms, we're trying to get more followers on Instagram, YouTube, and all that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as you're doing it with the right motives and the right intentions. I don't think it's bad to be a good steward over what you have. If you feel like what you're doing could reach more people and more people will enjoy your ministry or even just enjoy your music, like I don't think that's a bad thing, especially if you could provide for your family through it. But for me, like I think, because a lot of people are like, yo, you're underrated, like people be sleeping on you, like it's easy to look at the glass half empty and be like, man, like if people could just hear my music, they would love it and da 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 da, without appreciating the people who already like your music. The people who every time you post on Instagram, they the first one to comment and they're always retweeting you. And like I got a couple people like that who, whenever I post a song, like I know they gonna feel it. Like I just know, like I was like, yeah, wait until like there's a guy that I'm friends with on Facebook named Philip, like, and I know every time I post a song, like I know he gonna check it out, and I know he gonna. I mean, I hope like if he don't like the song, that's cool. But like, I want you to be honest. But like, usually, like he likes my music, and he'll just be like, yo, that he'll put flame emojis or whatever. And like I've learned to appreciate those people, like instead of like, man, like why I got 100,000 followers, like appreciate the couple thousand you do have, and really that's all you need. Like even if you trying to do something full time, you don't gotta be selling. You don't got to get 1 million streams every song to be full time. Like you don't. Like you could work at McDonald's to be a millionaire. It's not about how much you make. A lot. Like I mean, you do want to make as much as you can if you can, but like it's more about what you spend and how you save and what you do with the resources you have versus what you bring in. A lot of the time. You got people who are millionaires that are broke. That's
the truth. That's the truth right there.
Yeah. That's the one thing I would say is like appreciate what you have. Equipment wise, you may not have the best mic, you may not have the best. You might be recording in GarageBand. Like, man, I wish I had Pro Tools. Like, nah. Like at the end of the day, like when somebody hear your song, they don't know what kind of mic you have. They don't know if you recorded in Pro Tools. Is the song? Do they like the song or not? So yeah. So I'll just leave it with that.
I love that, man. Be a good steward. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, man.
Hey, man. Appreciate it. Man.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit. Conversation, man.
Good you got great questions. Like it's not the boring question. You got the good questions.
Good to see you, bro.
Yeah, good to see you too, fam.